lot of Indigenous people are born into political lives, not at our own choosing. For me to say, I don't want Indigenous women to be ignored anymore, is by some people a political statement. Advocating for missing and murdered Indigenous women, they will say that's political. And to me, that's survival. I have 3 Indigenous women in my family. As long as this epidemic is continuous, that means that each of those 3 relatives have targets on their back. My name is Rosalie Fish, and I am from the Muckleshoot and Cowlitz tribes. I am fighting for the rights of all Indigenous women. Anybody who doesn't understand about the missing and murdered Indigenous women epidemic, it's really encompassing the idea that Indigenous women are extremely vulnerable to violence. I think one thing that makes the Indigenous women crisis so deadly, so serious and extreme is that it's neglected. This is a crisis that is long overdue to be addressed. I am an athlete now because I can use it to amplify the voices of people who have been silenced. So when I decided to dedicate races at my state championship meet to a missing or murdered Indigenous woman in my community, I specifically chose women who their disappearances affected me very heavily at that time. I think a lot of families really just wanted justice at some point, and even if that justice meant just know her name, just know who she is, and know what was taken from me. My Aunt Alice, she was an amazing cook. A lot of people don't talk about these traits. When they talk about a woman who is part of this epidemic, they talk, well, what happened to her? How did she go? They don't talk about the little things that made that person who they were. And so, yeah, my Aunt Alice was an amazing cook. Iowa was definitely a culture shock, and sometimes it can be very isolating here. But then I would remember, I am pursuing a higher education so I can be an advocate. I'm working toward something. I want to continue to these bigger platforms, and I want to get faster so that I can get to these bigger meets and have even bigger audiences to reach through MMIW.
My name is Jordan Marie Brings through Horses Daniel. I'm a citizen of the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe, Koichash Oyate, in central South Dakota. I've been running for 22 years. Things started to change when I started running and dedicating my races for missing or murdered Indigenous relatives. I wanted to make sure that they were being thought of, that they weren't forgotten, that someone is looking for them and thinking about them and praying for them. I think now it's just come to a point where enough is enough, and so many Indigenous women and Indigenous relatives are, taking that leadership and next step to be a voice and to organize and to act. I think Rosalie is just leading the way in terms of what we can do, what we are capable of doing. Yeah, this new journey has connected Rosalie and I into like a little family unit that gets it, because we're not only connected by running, but we're connected by, who we run for now.
I'm really excited because I'm about to go meet Jordan Marie Daniels in person for the first time. Jordan and I virtually met in May, where I saw the photo of her with the red handprint, and it really inspired me and changed my perspective. She's really been like a mentor and even like a big sister to me. Oh my God.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Watching, Indigenous women rise up and being on the front lines of almost every single movement that we see, it's inspiring. And it always reminds me of my favorite quote of, "A nation isn't defeated until the hearts of its women are on the ground." Mm-hmm. And I know for Indigenous women, that will never happen. Finally being heard and given a platform to be taken seriously.
I think that's something that's very unique, too, about Indigenous advocates is a lot of us didn't really ask for that platform or that position, right? When I was an 18-year-old still in high school, I know I definitely was extremely unprepared. And I have all of these people hammering me for knowledge, for interviews, and like tokenism and exploitation, right? They want me to be that token, that savage. They wanted that image so bad.
The handprint was not just a symbol. It meant not only the movement, not only the families, it represented the historical violence that Indigenous people continuously face. But we also need to be careful with how we're raising awareness of this, because I feel like I've also seen some people exploit the handprint for likes and follows.
This is like stuff from home. So this is a rock with a design on it that my grandpa gave me. The rock is the symbol of the buffalo, and our teachings about the buffalo is that they head through their storms straight on. And he told me that I might have quite a few storms ahead of me. And he also gave me bear root, because bear root is the herb of strength. So I keep those on my desk just to remind me of home. These are my track spikes. So I have a little bit of ribbon on them, especially for when I ran for Selena Not Afraid. I ran with her in my mind because it was right around when she passed. And she was just very, her story was very heavy, and I couldn't get her really out of my head, so I decided to put some red ribbon on there and just accept that she was who I was running for that day, even when I wasn't really planning to.
Good to see you in the
Running has changed for me now. I'm sharing a platform to help raise awareness about this epidemic. I want people to start taking us seriously, and I don't want us to feel like our lives are expendable. Running was my outlet to be me and be free, and to hopefully inspire other Indigenous athletes. But my mind is just filled with these stories and this injustice and what's happening to our relatives all over the world. And it just was motivation still to keep running and to keep doing it.
I think no matter where I go, all of the work I do is for this epidemic. Every time I might feel like I get very discouraged, I remember that there are generations of my ancestors that have fought for me to be here.
Going 65 on a 30.
I think there's a lot of things that anybody can do to address MMIW and to be an ally. If you're able to vote for politicians who support the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2019, and sharing the missing posters, especially if you have social media. I think if somebody asked me what I was running from, a few years ago I would have told them a mixed feelings of anxiety or sometimes even depression or sometimes my family situation. Now I'm running toward something. Now that I've run for my people, there's no way that I could ever run for anything else. I'm taking power back, breaking stereotypes, using my platform to dedicate it to somebody else.
Look for a new way to go.